Welcome everybody, I'm Jack Brooks, the Executive Director of the Mid-Atlantic United Methodist Foundation. I'm glad you took the time to watch this brief introduction to what we're doing, our plan for the year ahead, and we're also going to review where the markets have been in the past year and our performance for you, our church clients. I have with me Keith Aleardi. Keith is the Chief Investment Officer of Fulton Bank and a longtime partner with the Mid-Atlantic United Methodist Foundation. Keith, welcome.
Thanks, Jack. It's great to be here.
This is a year of change, and for the church world, it's really a year of change. There's going to be a general conference coming up in May where the church is going to vote and decide on a potential split. I have no inside information about any of those things, but I can tell you where the foundation is and where our preparations have been. We've been planning for this for about 5 years. We knew the general conferences, the difficulties they'd had around the issue of same-sex marriage, human sexuality within the Methodist Church. And so how would that affect our foundation? How would that affect our clients? How may it affect our performance? And so today we can give some of the viewers some insight about that. We've had a vision team that's been working on this, and we feel we're probably positioned better than anybody would be for the churches that want to stay within the denomination or would choose to leave to still manage their assets. There's a great advantage to pooling the assets together and pooling the investments together, and I think our performance last year really gave viewers a search of that. When we looked at our average client return last year, our average client was up somewhere around 17.5%. So I think that that's excellent performance for a church portfolio with taking minimum amount of risk. So people will hear a lot more from the foundation in the coming months. But for now, let's go on and talk about how well we did last year in your presentation about the money and the investments.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And it's great to be here with you. I understand there's a lot going on in the church. In the meantime, the markets continue every day, and we're committed as your partner to make the foundation a world-class asset manager. So just a little recap on where we were last year. And then what our expectations are for 2020. If going back to 2018, where we had negative returns across the entire investment spectrum, 2019 was a complete reversal. Positive results across every investment class. And what was really interesting, what continued the trend, U.S. large cap stocks really outperformed every other asset class. So really strong year for 2019. The foundation clients really enjoyed fantastic returns, and it was a really productive investment year. The big question is what happens in 2020? And our estimates, our forecasts believe that we should remain positive in the equity markets for 2020. We also think bonds can be productive as well. So a nice balanced portfolio should return pretty solid returns for the year. Now, that forecast is built on the theme that there will not be a recession in 2020. So estimates, probabilities of a recession run around 20-25%. We think that's accurate. The consumer remains strong, employment remains strong, and we expect that to continue through the remainder of the year.
So you see a modest headwind ahead, not without risk. No investing church or other portfolios are without risk, but the inherent risk you feel is manageable given the foresight that you have, as well as the results that we've just come away from.
Yeah, so not only do we look at what the opportunities are, we certainly look at what the risks are out there. And there's a couple. One is a waning risk, and that is the trade conflict with China. Okay, so as you know, the current administration signed a phase 1 deal at the end of last year. We expect the tariffs to remain in place that are in place today, but we should see the economic impact of those trade wars dissipate over the next couple quarters. So while that remains a risk, it's an elevated risk, we see that on a decline. Probably a bigger risk is the election, right? So 2020, we're rolling into an election year. We just had the first primary the other night, and that creates policy uncertainty. And that policy uncertainty, basically businesses not knowing what the playbook looks like, make it hard for them to make decisions. So we could see a slowing in the economy in 2020 based off that policy uncertainty and the way the election develops. That could create a lot of volatility in the market. We believe we're positioned properly among the asset classes that we're invested in. However, we expect more volatility based off that policy uncertainty.
So risk management, I know, is a big cornerstone for where the foundation has been from the very beginning. And we've gone through good times, we've gone through rapid market decline, slow market decline, and it seems like all the time we continue to manage that risk. It's not that we don't go down, but where the markets go back up from, we're not at as low a level as if you were just straight out in the market. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. So one thing from a risk management standpoint, your investment committee is one of the sharpest that I've ever worked with. And I know that your group is on top of things and does a great job in monitoring the portfolios and monitoring your clients' assets. Our support comes in the area of risk management is making sure that we have the right allocation in every relationship, in every church client. We have the right asset allocation across asset classes, and that we're picking the best managers out there to not only protect your clients, but also generate really optimal returns. One of the things we did late last year that I think it's worth emphasizing is we reduced emerging market stocks in the portfolio. It's a real good example of risk management in a portfolio. And while we could never have predicted the coronavirus and could never have predicted that China was going to substantially slow down and that the phase one deal was going to impact other emerging market countries, emerging markets was the worst performing asset class in January. So it's that type of tactical decisions that we make in conjunction with the committee that really do a great job for your clients.
That and all of those were anticipatory, not reactionary.
Correct.
And even though you can't always measure the risk, I know our investment committee does a lot of work with your team and with the other investment groups that we interact with on trying to understand the big picture.
Right.
Because that comes down to the church on Main Street.
Yeah.
And how that church's assets are performing is vital lifeblood to mission and ministry for so many churches. We probably understand risk and manage risk. It's not all about positive return. We participate when the market goes up.
Yeah.
But it's tempering that risk so a church has that asset for their purposes of mission and ministry every day.
Right. Well, you know, the great what you provide in terms of knowing your church clients and knowing the markets is the best balance that any church client could have, right? That combination is a winning combination for those clients that are working with you, and we're happy to support that. We recognize that the markets are going to be volatile. We need to be nimble and anticipatory to what we expect out there. That's why we develop the forecast that we do and the capital markets assumptions that we do.
And that's where we interact as well. When we talk to a church often, they say, well, we can do it ourselves, and that's great. But then I ask one question of them. Who calls and deploys your investment strategy in a down market? Right. And what day does that happen after the market goes down?
Yep.
They're good at picking stocks to go up, but generally they're not very good at protecting on the downside, and yet that's a fiduciary responsibility of managing money that's not your own.
Yeah. So in one of our slides we show every year the market has at least a 10% correction, and the question is, during that time, what decisions are your committee making? You know, are you panicking? You know, or are you staying disciplined to your process? And we believe remaining disciplined to your process is the best way to not only create opportunities, but to protect the principal as a fiduciary in the portfolio.
For our long-term clients, they know for us we've tactically shifted, that it's all about process. Because process leads to performance. When you understand the processes of managing an individual church's money or an agency's money, or out to the way we do, trying to manage a whole very defined group. We only manage money for churches. that objective, the way that that is, it can be very specific to the church's needs. A church in one area of our service territory could be totally different than another. An urban church could have different goals than suburban. But holistically, we're trying to manage money for everybody that they simply would not do themselves.
Right. Absolutely. The Foundation's created an infrastructure to support every church client, no matter what their size is, bringing professional money management to that church in a way that you can't get off the street. It's a customized approach specifically for church clients, and those that have enjoyed those benefits over the years recognize that customization and that portfolio management is a way to enhance and sustain the mission, and the purpose and the operation of the church.
That also leads us in a difficult time. This environment that we're in right now with churches could be very difficult for fundraising and funding ministry and stewardship and generosity development. But we feel a donor can feel really confident in understanding the principles and the approach that we're doing. We will go through these quick, sharp turns left and right, but it's over the long term. A donor can understand that a legacy gift or a long-term gift is there. And we teach that all the time. We are the specialists in this. We've taught over 200 pastors, very in-depth program, and that's about the first time that they get exposed to this church management. But we couldn't do it if we weren't managing money for the churches. So our vested interest is making the money for the church grow, making more money for mission and ministry, and with your partnership, we've been pretty effective in doing that.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for coming on and explaining a little bit about where we've been. All of this information is available on our website. We're looking forward to having you visit the website. There's lots of changes coming, and a lot of our information is up there for you to download. Of course, if you have any questions, give us a call, 800-828-9093. Thanks again for watching. I'm Jack Brooks, the Executive Director of the Mid-Atlantic United Methodist Foundation.